Today, we're going to talk why people are more angry about game criticism than bad games. Let me start off with something that might sound controversial, but really shouldn't be. Gaming doesn't have a negativity problem. I know. It has a comfort problem. Because right now, there are a lot of people in this space who aren't actually upset about bad games. They're upset that people are talking about bad games. They're not angry at broken launches. They're not angry at missing features. They're not angry at games shipping unfinished, overpriced, and held together with roadmaps and promises. They're angry at the conversation. Right? We reached a point where criticizing a video game gets treated like its personality flaw. We're saying that this didn't work for me somehow turns into you're toxic, you're a hater, or my personal favorite, you're killing gaming. As if a real threat to the industry isn't a billion-dollar publisher cutting corners, but some random person online saying they didn't like the combat. And what's wild is how normalized this has become. Okay, people will spend more time arguing with critics than asking whether the criticism is valid. They distinct tone, motives, and subscriber counts before they ever talk about the gameplay. Not, is the game finished? Not, did they deliver it that was promised? Not if it's worth the money, but why people are being so negative. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. A lot of people don't actually want discussion. They want agreement. They want the industry to feel safe. They want the excitement to be validated. They want their favorite game protected from scrutiny. And the moment someone disrupts that, even politely, they respond it isn't debate, it's defensiveness. They run off to Twitter. I don't like what this guy said. Because liking a game isn't enough anymore. Now you have to defend it. You have to justify it. You have to protect it like it's your job. And that mindset, that's how standards die. Let's get something straight right now. Disliking a game is not an attack. Not on you, not on your taste, not on your intelligence, and definitely not on the industry. A video game is a product that costs money, a product that asks for your time, emotional investment, and often long-term commitment. Criticizing that product is not hate. It's customer feedback, right? That used to be normal. But somehow, along the way, criticism became framed as the problem. Not an unfinished launch is the problem. Not monetization creep is the problem. Not live service promises that quietly disappear. No, that's not the problem. No, the real issue apparently is the people are being too negative about it. And that framing is incredibly convenient for publishers. Here's what actually happens when a game launches in a rough state. Instead of defending the game on its mechanics, the systems, or design, or some people immediately pivot to tone policing. They don't say, I think the combat opens up later. They say, why do gamers complain so much? They don't say, I enjoy this despite its flaws. They say content creators are ruining the game. They don't engage with criticism. They try to silence it. And let's be blunt. Can I be blunt? If a game is good, criticism does not threaten it. Good games don't need protection. They don't need a vibe management. They don't need unpaid PR teams on social media. They speak for themselves. Nobody begged players to be nice to Elden Ring. Nobody ran defense campaigns for Baldur's Gate 3, and nobody told critics they were killing gaming for questioning Red Dead Redemption 2. Those games were criticized, debated, praised, and argued about because they could handle it. The conversation centered on games, not the feelings of people defending it. What changes is that many players no longer see games as products. They see them as an extension of themselves. So criticism feels personal, even when it's not. They say, you didn't like this, turns into, you're wrong for liking this, right? The emotional reaction shuts down conversation immediately. And then there's the corporate defense problem, which honestly is just staggering. It's so strange. It's the strangest part. People will go to war for multi-billion-dollar companies like they're defending a close friend. Publishers with massive marketing budgets, executives making millions of dollars that get golden parachutes at the end of it, studios will shut down teams without even blinking an eye. And somehow, they're the ones who need protection. No, I don't think so. If anything, they deserve the most scrutiny. Another uncomfortable truth, a lot of people complain about negativity don't actually want positivity. They're the most negative ones out there. They want uniformity. They want everyone to feel the same way. They want disagreement gone. They want criticism reduced to a footnote. But art doesn't work that way. And games don't work that way. You know why? Because games are art. Disagreement isn't toxicity. Debate isn't harassment. And criticism isn't hate. Now, yes, real harassment exists, and it's garbage. Threats are unacceptable. Personal attacks grow the F up. Harassing developers, that's not criticism. But lumping all of those criticisms into the category is dishonest and lazy. It's a way to avoid engaging with the actual issues. Here's why people talk more about games like dislike than games they like, because their disappointment stinks. You don't spend weeks talking about a game that's just okay. You don't write essays about something that mildly entertains you. You talk about the things that matter, the hype, the promise, the potential that didn't get fulfilled. That's not obsession. That's investment. The real irony. Some of the loudest voices against negativity spend the entire online presence complaining about critics. They follow them, they reply to them. They don't uplift good games. They don't recommend hidden gems. They don't create positive content. They just police tone. They become the thing they claim to hate. This is where the problem really gets amplified. Platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and even YouTube comments don't reward honesty. They reward simplicity. Short takes, extreme reactions, clean narratives. And right now, the most protected narrative is gaming is forced positivity. Right? You always talk about review bombing, but forced positivity is just as bad. On social media, the people shouting, "This game is perfect," often do more harm than the people saying, "Well, here's what didn't work." Because blind positivity doesn't give developers anything to work with. They love it. 10 out of 10. Stop complaining. That's not feedback. That's noise. Meanwhile, actual criticism, specific criticism, gets labeled toxic. If someone breaks down why a system feels unfinished, or why progression is broken, or why performance issues ruin the experience, they're accused of hating the game, or worse, hating gaming itself. But that's backwards. Constructive criticism is how things improve. Forced positivity just tells companies, you keep doing this. It rewards half-finished launches. It normalizes patches and promises. It teaches publishers that marketing matters more than delivery. The social media amplifies the behavior because it feels good to be positive, even when it's dishonest. What's ironic is that the loudest positivity often disappears the fastest. When the hype dies, when the roadmaps stall, when the patches slow down, the critics are still there. People that actually care enough to pay attention about the product. So when people say social media is too negative about games, what they really mean is social media makes it uncomfortable to ignore the problems. And that's discomfort. And that's accountability. Amazing. So here's where it really lands. Gaming doesn't suffer when people are honest. It suffers when people are quiet. When criticism is discouraged, standards don't rise, they fall. Games stop launching complete, updates become apologies, and promises replace delivery. And players are told to be grateful for it. If a game can't survive criticism, it wasn't strong to begin with. If a community collapses over disagreement, it wasn't never healthy. And if your enjoyment for a video game depends on everyone else agreeing with you, then your enjoyment was fragile. Disagreement isn't the enemy. Complacency is. People aren't critical because they hate games. They're critical because they love what games can be, and they're tired of seeing the potential wasted. They remember when launches felt finished, when patches were bonuses, not expectations, when liking a game didn't require defending a corporation online. That frustration isn't toxic. It's earned. Strip away the labels. Haters, toxic gamers, drama farmers, and what's left is something very simple. Players asking for better. Better games, better honesty, better respect for the time and money. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, good. Growth usually does. At the end of the day, gaming doesn't need forced positivity. It doesn't need tone policing. And it definitely doesn't need unpaid PR teams for billion-dollar companies. What it needs is space. Space to praise great games, space to criticize bad ones, space for people love something or walk away from it without being told they're the problem. So talking about what you love, talk about what disappointed you, and don't let anyone convince you your opinion only matters if it's positive. Because the conversation is culture. And if we lose that, we lose way more than a few hurt feelings. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Whether you agree with everything I said, disagree with half of it, or somewhere in the middle, that's the point. Gaming should be conversation, not loyalty test. So let me know in the comments. What was a game that you liked that everyone else hated? Or a game that you were excited about and completely let you down? Just keep it about the game, not the people. If you enjoyed this kind of long-form breakdown, hit that like button. It actually helps more than people realize. Subscribe if you want more honest gaming discussions without the corporate filter. And as always, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for supporting the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
Patch it, drop it, update it.